So I'm going to start the recording. All right, welcome to Lost in Translation. Conquer SDR to account executive handover. Knowledge and planning are keys to winning. And I only have probably, I think, 3 slides, and then we'll jump right into actually going through how we use Strategy Mapper to ensure that there's nothing lost from the SDR perspective in the transition to the account and into an opportunity throughout the flow of the sales team. So the handover has to be perfect. The transition from the SDR to the AE can make or break new accounts and the potential for future revenue in those accounts. So if we have a good handover, we get the information that we need, it ensures that we're able to at least move the account, qualify the lead, and hopefully drive revenue from those account and opportunities. And if you have any questions, please go ahead and type it in, or I can unmute you and then you can ask your question. Very interactive session here. So from our perspective, what we believe an SDR has to either understand, know, or gather during the initial conversations with the prospect, whether it's a meeting or it's a quick telephone call, maybe some exchanging in emails. There's some data that has to be gathered in order to qualify the lead and to move it forward. So one is the information that you're gathering in Salesforce or your CRM. In this example, in Strategy Mapper, we'll only rely on Salesforce to be able to put the data in. Some of the data is, who did I talk to? What was their name, their email, their phone, the role or roles that they play within the decision-making process, the stance, how are they likely to buy what we're trying to sell. You may not be able to gather this during your initial call unless they just don't want to have another meeting, then it's pretty much they're against. Individual notes about the lead. What's particular about this individual you may want to be able to document to be able to ensure that it transitions over into the account. What are their pain points and why are they talking to us? That's basically why you want to, Cabela has a great way. When you go into a Cabela store, it's what brought you in today, right? Then you can start understanding and create a story around why somebody's coming in or why somebody's talking to you about a situation or pain point or challenge or what they're looking to do. So it's fairly easy to be able to go ahead and start understanding that. You don't have to ask, what's your pain point? There's a way to be able to articulate that. Now, what are our strengths? You have to understand that when we start talking to the customer. What are our weaknesses? Are there any competitors? Do they go ahead and freely give out some competitor information? As you can see, I'm in Salesforce, and we're going to go through a process of totally going through the process of from the SDR, getting information, and then transitioning it over into an account executive. So this is Lightning. We work the same in Lightning or Classic. It doesn't matter. It's all exactly the same. So I'm going to go into a lead, and I may have a new lead that came in recently, and his name is Jesse Longbow. So I'm going to go in and I'm going to look at Jesse. There may be some information here initially about the customer because maybe it came in through, for example, a trade show or some kind of information from our website. So I got some information about, Jesse right here that was pre-populated. Now, there's 2 ways to be able to gather this data. One is I can have a quick call with the customer and I can take a bunch of notes, ask these questions. Maybe I have a process that I go through. The other, what I usually do is when I get a prospect on a call and we start having a pretty good conversation, what I'll do is I'll go in and I will start what we call an instant meeting. What this does, this allows me to start capturing the information from my discussions with the individual. Now I can do it, again, I can do it after I have the call, I can do it during the call, whatever your preference is how you can go ahead and take this information. So I'm going to click on instant meeting. If I, for example, have a conversation, say, hey, let's schedule a meeting for next week, I can also go in and create a meeting and schedule it for next week and invite that individual. So there's two ways kind of to be able to gather this data. So I'm going to do an instant meeting. I got them on the call, and we're getting some good information. One thing unique about Strategy Mapper is the ability to select a template. And the template builds out the meeting interface information that I want to be able to gather, goal, objectives, and things like that. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to choose lead qualification. And what happens now, it'll build it in Salesforce. It'll build the meeting interface. One thing is that we are 100% native Salesforce. All the data that you gather resides in Salesforce. So you can see this is my meeting page right here. It has, based on the template that I selected, it has buttons or actions that I can do. It has the somewhat resembles the meeting where you're having it. For example, I want to go ahead, everybody's calling in, basically, I'm going to go ahead and choose a cloud. So what this does is just puts a cloud on the interface, kind of, you know, nice looking, gives a little bit of reference. I can put a table, oval or whatever, and if I'm in actually a physical meeting, I can put where the people are sitting in the meeting. Here I've got my logistics. Again, this is a quick meeting, and basically the title is the date and time. Now I can change this title any time, but this is just for brevity. This is the title. I've got what kind it's remote. I got the start time. I could add a location if I wanted to. This is just the logistics. And here are my goal objectives based on the template that I selected. The goal is to qualify or disqualify the lead, right? Some of the objectives are they willing to meet with sales. Once I have this conversation, can we schedule another meeting so we go in more in-depth demonstration, talk about the product more, get more about what they are looking to do? You know, pain and need. Does a prospect have a problem and a product that we can service or solve? And is there enough urgency with the buyer right now? So it's, oh, I'm going to do it next year. So that's more of an initiative than a lead, right? And is there a budget? I know this is probably one of the more difficult questions to ask. People sometimes shy away from it because they don't want to hear the answer no. They say, okay, it's not a deal, it's not an opportunity. But that's a good question to ask. And if no, are they getting budget? I can put that in my notes. No, but they're getting budget. And I got information about Jesse that I can change, right? Where the lead source, the status, technology, and I can change all this, and it updates Salesforce in real time. So I'm not losing any of the data or any of the information. I don't have to go in and put it here, then somewhere else in Salesforce. It's a single input, multi-output throughout your entire Salesforce organization. And then in addition, if you have chatter enabled, we can actually, we create chatter groups for every meeting, and then I can add somebody from my team in this meeting, and we can chatter real time back and forth. Maybe they've talked to Jesse before, for example, and you can add files and things like that. So that's one of our collaboration tools. You can see right here that some of this is grayed out. The only reason it's grayed out is because I haven't saved the meeting one time. So I'm going to go ahead and save the meeting, and then you'll notice that these are now populated. So Jesse's in here. He's from Trustwater Solutions. He doesn't have a stance, but right now I'm going to go in and give him at least a stance of undecided. He hasn't said he's going to buy. We haven't even got that far. So make him a participant. I'm going to make him undecided, and he's at least an evaluator because he's talking to me. Maybe he's a gatekeeper. You have multiple roles with Strategy Mapper. So during the conversation, I can take notes, and these are notes, the rich text, just like notes you would take, in a notebook. I can take public notes so everyone can see these. It's not going to get me any trouble if I sent these notes to the customer. I could add pictures and links and everything. And the internal notes section, I could actually put questions, qualifying questions here to have my user ask during the meeting. Or I can put information that's internal that I do not want the customer to know. Maybe Jesse's being, confrontational or whatever. Then I can put that information here and it'll never get back to the customer. So there's public notes and there's internal notes. And if you had previous meetings with this lead, there would be notes from those particular meetings. So I'm just going to go ahead and save this. And again, I can take the notes all day long. The power is in what we call actionable intelligence. This is where you start getting some of the structured data. It's really easy to use because it's all drop downs. And the drop downs are configured based on your needs or requirements. So for example, if I'm going in and I'm having a great conversation with Jesse, I say, Jesse, when are you going to make a decision? Not when they're going to buy, but when are they going to make a decision on a solution? So, we're having a great conversation and he's telling me it's going to be, the 28th of February. Then we start talking about budgeting and everything, and kind of find out that, not determined. I didn't find out. And again, you can change these what you want. And we're going through, I can get the customer requirements, we're talking about, so, what's one of your requirements, Jesse, that you have to have? So maybe it has to be 100% native Salesforce. And then I can even put, strategy mapper. I can pick the solution that I believe best suits this requirement and that we meet it. And now I can start scoring this. So as I transition over to the account executive, it says, oh, we have a solution, we had a good score, and build upon that data. Competitors, maybe I didn't find out any competitors. They didn't discuss it at all. But if I did, then I can choose one right here and put their strengths and weaknesses if I knew them. What pain points or challenges. So we're going in here, maybe they're having a lack of account planning. It's one of the things you really kind of talked about. Maybe another one is lack of meeting and preparation. So those are the pain points. More, what are our strengths? I can do this, again, before or after or during I'm talking to the customer. I already know our strengths. Remember, 100% native Salesforce, a bunch of other information. And again, this data is structured. I'm going to show you why this structure is important when we start looking at being able to transition and to be able to bring folks on board quicker. Our weaknesses, and then we have the obstacles. Maybe they said, hey, budget could be an obstacle, right? We haven't even discussed budget, so I really don't know if there is a budget. So that's an obstacle right now that we need to figure out how we can mitigate or overcome it. Any objections? Right now, right off the bat, hopefully not in the first conversation, you'll have an objection. And then the why buys. Why is this person going to buy? What happens if they don't buy? And I can save all this data. And based on my qualifications, I believe that this opportunity or this lead can be a qualified opportunity. So I can go in and I can go ahead and I know who the account executive is or will be. I can go ahead and create a task for that individual to maybe schedule a meeting with Jesse, in the next, 2 weeks. So I'm going to go into here, schedule a meeting. And because I'm not the one who does it, I have another team member that will do this. Maybe that's his account. I'm just the SDR. Lead. I can put some information there. It's due next week. I can say it's in progress. I said, hey, review the meeting notes. Now, when I get that, I'll save it. And now this becomes a task for Mike in here. I forget what that is, but it'll become a task for Mike. So I've got all my information. I'm good to go. I want to go ahead and I want to complete the meeting. Before I do that, I want to go in here and I'm going to talk, and I'm going to say it's qualified. And now I want to save it, and I want to complete it. What happens when this is completed just indicates that this could be a trigger once we transition the account to create an account plan. So now I go back in here, I go back into my lead, I convert the status, it's qualified. We convert it over to an account. So this is the account. This is the contact. I don't really want to create a new opportunity right now. I want to go ahead and let the AE create that opportunity. And I can even change the record owner. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to convert it. So now the AE is going to get notified. And as the AE, I go back and I look at this new account. And I can see that there's that meeting that I had with the lead transitions over into that account. So now I've got the same level of information that SDR had, that I don't have to go back in now and call them up. They're moving to something else. They're qualifying more leads for me, but I've got the exact same data that individual had without any loss of information whatsoever. I can go to notes. I can look at the notes. I can go into the actionable intelligence. I've got the same level of actionable intelligence. So there's nothing here that I don't know that the SDR didn't put in here. So now I don't have to, again, call them back. I don't have to do anything. And now when I have another meeting, or say I'm going to have a meeting with this customer, because I've got to schedule one, that's part of the task that I got to schedule it, then I can actually, when I create a meeting, that new meeting will actually include the information from that initial meeting. So again, it helps with the loss of data, without the loss of data. And if I'm working in a prospect, for example, and an SDR had a meeting with the lead, and then that SDR left, when a new SDR comes into play, they'll have the same level of information. We call it disaster recovery for sales. We don't want any loss of data simply because of account transition. So if I go in here and I create a new meeting, I'm going to go ahead and create an instant meeting. Choose a template. I'm going to call it initial meeting. I'm going to go in to this interface. I go ahead and I can add Jesse into the meeting. If there's any personal notes, I would have captured all those. And now when I go and look at the notes or the actionable intelligence, it's the same from that meeting. And then now when I create an opportunity, these meeting notes will transition into that opportunity. So I don't lose any of the data. So again, here's the present meeting. There's no notes. But if I looked at the last meeting, here's the notes from that previous meeting. And again, the actionable intelligence flows over also. So I've got the same bit of information. So again, there is absolutely no loss of data moving from a lead into an account. And then if I wanted to, I can go ahead and I can create a strategic account plan, and we'll have some of this information pre-populated in it. So now I can have a better chance of winning an opportunity within this account and driving revenue. Now, because it's structured data, The importance of that is dashboards that we can provide. So as a SDR or somebody new, I can go in and look at, what are the potential pain points I'm going to run into with our customers? What are our strengths? What are our weaknesses? What obstacles am I likely to encounter? What objections? So when I onboard somebody, it's a lot faster. From an executive perspective, I can see a bunch of different information, analytics, or data points about my products, my customers, and also from a marketing perspective. Hey, maybe I should create some marketing initiatives around what we're seeing from a pain point perspective and market those to customers. Our weaknesses, objections, obstacles, our strengths, our weaknesses, again, industries, competitors. So all this data is there, and the more you use Strategy Mapper, the more that data is provided, and the more robust that data is. There's a bunch of analytics you can run on it if you've got any type of analytics machine. That's one of the critical parts of this, is be able to capture this data and then let everybody use it. It becomes unsiloed and is prevalent throughout your entire organization. So that's really the transition from the a lead, a prospect, account, and now create an opportunity. I get that same information. So there's absolutely no loss of data, and you conquer that handoff or the transition throughout your entire process. No matter what sales methodology you use, we can adapt to it. So kind of call to action is, if you're a Salesforce customer, you start a 30-day trial, go through the App Exchange. We can do a personalized demo for you. You can email us at sales@point-in-time, or you can email me, Travis D, at point-in-time, or you can call us right here. Again, we can do a pilot or a trial, and the trial is fully supported. To us, it feels like you're already a customer. We'll help you install it, configure it, train. Everything is included in that 30-day trial. Or you can schedule a demo to make it more towards exactly how you would use the product. So again, I'll probably give you a couple minutes back if there's no questions. Great. Well, I want to thank you very much from Point in Time, taking the time today to learn about how to conquer the SDR to AE account transition. Thank you. Have a great day. Bye-bye.